The bitter wind howled through the alleyway, cutting through the worn jacket of Officer Jack Harris as he crouched down, his flashlight casting long, trembling shadows against the grimy walls. His breath was visible, a ghost in the night, as his eyes scanned the scene in front of him. What was that? The low, guttural growl. Was it an animal or something more? He tightened his grip on his baton, cautiously moving forward. Then he saw it, a dog. Thin, filthy, its coat matted with dirt and dried blood. Its eyes, though wide and desperate, held something unexpected, a kind of pleading, a question, as if it had the faintest shred of hope left, still believing in kindness. The dog's ribs were visible beneath its gaunt frame, and every breath it took sounded like a gasp for air. But it wasn't just hunger that haunted those eyes. It was something deeper, a longing for connection, for something more than survival. Something Jack knew all too well. The dog limped toward him, its paws barely making a sound on the cracked pavement, and then stopped just a few feet away. It stared at Jack, head slightly tilted as though silently asking, "Can I eat with you?" Jack's heart thudded in his chest, his mind struggling to process the weight of the moment. The dog didn't bark. It didn't whimper. It just watched him, waiting. As the wind howled again, Jack's thoughts scrambled, and he found himself torn between duty and compassion. Then, without even thinking, he reached into his bag and pulled out a granola bar. Something small, something that barely counted as food. He hadn't eaten much himself tonight, but this dog needed it more. As he slowly unwrapped the bar, the dog's eyes locked onto his hands, and Jack could see the flicker of hope. There was something so human in that gaze, a longing for a simple gesture of kindness, for the nourishment of both body and soul. With a gentle motion, Jack extended the granola bar toward the dog, who sniffed it hesitantly before taking it from his hand. The dog devoured it in moments, chewing desperately as though it had been days since it had eaten anything. Jack watched, his emotions a swirl of empathy, guilt, and sorrow. What had this dog gone through to be this desperate, to look at him as if Jack might be the last chance it had for survival? Suddenly the dog stopped mid-bite. It raised its head, and for a second Jack thought it might bolt, might run away. But instead the dog lowered its head to the ground, its gaze never leaving Jack. It seemed to say, "Is that all?" It wasn't ungrateful, but Jack could see it. The dog wasn't just hungry for food. It was starving for love, for care, for the simplest form of human contact. Jack's chest tightened. His eyes blurred with a wave of emotion that was too deep to name. He crouched closer to the dog, ignoring the chill that was creeping into his bones. With trembling fingers, he reached out and gently stroked the dog's matted fur. It flinched at first, as if unsure whether to trust him, but then it leaned into his touch, its body softening, responding in a way that broke Jack's heart all over again. "I'm sorry," Jack whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I wish I could do more for you." The dog didn't bark. It didn't make a sound, but its eyes softened, and for the first time in what seemed like forever, Jack felt the bond between them, the quiet promise of companionship, even in this forgotten part of the world. As the dog finished the granola bar, it sat beside Jack, not moving, just content to be in his presence. It was as if, in that fleeting moment, the dog had found some solace in knowing that there was at least one human who saw it, not as an animal to be feared or ignored, but as a living creature deserving of kindness. Jack sat there in the cold, the night stretching on, yet it felt as though time had stopped. They were two souls, both weary, both scarred by the world in different ways, yet somehow bound together by the simplest of actions. One human offering food, another accepting it with grace, and a moment of shared humanity that neither would forget. Just as Jack began to rise, thinking about the next step, getting the dog some proper food, maybe even a vet visit, he heard a soft whimper. He turned to see the dog looking up at him again, its eyes filled with that same unspoken question. "Stay with me?" Jack murmured, more to himself than to the dog. The dog responded by licking his hand, its tail wagging weakly. Jack's heart swelled. He had to do more. He couldn't leave this dog here, not after everything it had been through, not after they'd shared this moment. But as he prepared to make a move, A car pulled up beside them. He looked up, his heart sinking, thinking it was another officer or even animal control coming to remove the dog from the street. But it wasn't. It was a woman, a figure Jack vaguely recognized. She rolled down her window, her eyes softening as she saw the dog, then met Jack's gaze. "Is this your dog?" she asked. "No," Jack replied, shaking his head. "But I think it needs someone." The woman nodded slowly. "I can help. I've been feeding it for days, but I wasn't sure who could take it in." I didn't think anyone would care. Jack felt a pang of surprise, then relief. This wasn't just a stray. This dog had someone who had been looking out for it. But it still wasn't enough. "I'll take it to the shelter," Jack said, "and we'll see what we can do." The woman nodded, but there was a hesitation in her eyes. "Thank you, just make sure it gets a chance to live." "I will," Jack promised, his voice thick with emotion. As the woman drove away, Jack stood there, the cold night air biting into him. The dog, now lying beside him, was still looking at him, still asking the same silent question, "Can I eat with you?" But now, there was something else in its eyes, a glimmer of hope. And for Jack, that was enough. As he led the dog to his patrol car, his heart swelled with a mixture of pride and tenderness. In this broken world, sometimes all it took was a simple gesture, a kind word, or the smallest act of compassion to make a difference. Jack had given the dog food, but it was the love that came next that would change both of their lives forever. The dog had asked, "Can I eat with you?" And Jack's reply had melted their hearts, "Yes, you can. You're not alone anymore."